Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Under Construction. And we're going to be jumping into No Man's Sky again today and taking a look at some basic foundations. We're going to look at a couple of pieces that I find really need to make the centerpiece of your base if you're going to use them. They can be added on, but they're a little bit problematic. So I'm going to show you how to use some of these pieces and how to make them look a little bit more realistic. One of the main ones will be our landing pad. The new landing pad, which is a lot larger than the old one, and it sometimes kind of floats there and doesn't look quite that realistic. So there are some ways that you can get around that and make it look like more of a realistic supported structure. So I'm just loading into our world here, and then we will get started. Hope everyone is having a good morning. I still haven't had any coffee, and we'll have to make this water suffice. Right. All right. So here we are, back at another wind. You know what? This planet, I might have to get off of this planet and find something that's not as horrible cold weather. Maybe I can turn the weather off. I never even checked. But here's our interior as we made it last time. Just gonna see if I can turn off that weather. Nope. Alright, so there's gonna be something we mine over there. So yeah, we want to add that landing pad. In creative mode it's not as important because your ship, you can land anywhere and you don't have to pay really the fuel cost in order to take off again. But it does look a little bit better than just having your ship sitting there on the mountainside like that. And the other structure that we want to look at is under structures and specialists and foundations. So this is the one that we can add to the bottom of our large structures, and it will drop feet down until it reaches the ground. But this guy, the cylindrical room frame, which I love, for some reason doesn't want to be added to the bottom of those rooms anymore. So you can't build up those rooms and then add these underneath. They only stack on each other or on the ground, and then you can put your room on top. So I often find that if I'm going to use this as part of a base, I usually need to make it sort of the centerpiece. It's the first thing that I put down. So actually, I kind of like that in the water there. I'm actually going to put that right there. And then another one on top. No, you know what? Now we're going to go into the actual large rooms, and we're going to put one cylindrical room here. This is going to be something else that we talk about, is how many of these cylindrical or square rooms we're going to be putting on top of each other. So there's two. All right. So now we have a nice centerpiece to our base. And what we're going to do is we're going to build out where our landing pad is. So if I stand up here, I go down to tech. Sorry about that. If I go down to text general and landing pad, you can see that it attaches to our tower. Right. So we're going to do that. Actually, another thing that matters is the rotation, because you can see it has that one computer. I don't want that off on its own. I want that sort of closer to where the entrance is going to be. So I'm going to rotate until it's there. So now we have our base, or our landing pad. And I can put a door, and I'm going to start actually using the hollow doors, because they're just a little bit easier to set up for now. I don't have to worry about adding full power. Okay. So now the reason that I've put two cylindrical rooms, one on top of another, is because I think that's usually the limit I like to have for these large rooms stacking. And that's because I find that these ladders are very glitchy. So if I have another ladder here, another room up there, the problem is that I don't know, I find that the ladders don't know when to let me off. So here, if I'm on the ladder, I climb down, and I'm off. There's nowhere else to go on the ladder, so now I'm in the downstairs room. But if I climb on the ladder, and now I'm in the upstairs and I want to get off, Can I jump off? No. It just won't let me off the ladder. I can only get off once I get to the top. So, see, I'm going to have a hard time getting off of here. Nor do we have to resort to going back outside. So I like having just one ladder. Means I can get down, and I can get up. Normally, actually, I avoid those ladders completely, but having just one, I think, is all right. It works. All right, so we have our two. Obviously, we still need a way out, and we're going to put that on a lower level. And rather than just putting a door right inside of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create like a little exit entryway. So I'm going to put in a bendable corridor, bent corridor, L-shaped, like so. And then I'm going to put my hollow door on the end of that. And then a ramp leading up to it. Oh. Alright, so now we can add windows and stuff later, but now we have this is our way in. And then climb the ladder to get out to the helipad. I mean, if we're being honest, most of the time I'll probably just jump up here, but for a sense of realism, our base now has an actual path that gets us to a landing pad. Now, here's the problem I have with this landing pad. It's ginormous, and it just kind of floats there. Doesn't really look real, and it's attached only by this tiny little piece to our main structure, and it feels like it would just snap right off if anything landed on it. I've always felt like these landing pads need to have something underneath them to make it seem like they could support the weight of a spaceship. So we're actually going to build something underneath to do that. And also to double as a kind of power room, which I'll get into. Alright, so when we're doing this sort of under building, where we're trying to line things up that don't actually snap together, I'm going to go over to my small structures. If I use the cuboid room here, often I'm doing a lot of guessing as to how it's lining up. I can't see how straight that is. Seems straight, but I can't tell how close it is to the end either. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back over to Specialist Foundations and use one of my favorite pieces, the cuboid room frame. Because even just as a measurement tool, I can now see if my items are straight and where they're situated, like how far they go back. So need to get it right on that line. I think that's right. Wow, it's pretty close. That's good. Alright, so, and I like dropping these in so that they actually make it all the way into the sand. And now what I can do is, you can see that lines up really neatly. With the rest of the landing pad. It's not 100%, but it is close enough and it's very straight. So it feels like an actual structure. Now one thing that's going to happen, is that our little base computer is going to get a little bit stuck in there. But that's okay. Oh, no, wait. It's going to get stuck under, but not in. And I'm going to leave this last piece open here. Already now you can see it looks more like a landing pad that could actually support something because it's got structure underneath it. Alright, so, but we're going to add more to that. We're actually going to make this usable space. Might be an area that we don't come to very often, but we can use. Alright, so first off, I'm going to take a little break from structure building. I'm going to go over to decoration. And just grab a couple more crates. So one of the things that we did when we actually started building our base is that we built way over there and not around our base computer. And I'll be honest, most of the time I like putting this stuff near the base computer because it feels like that's where we would set up our stuff when we were getting started. You'll go over to tech. Storage. Grab a couple of these guys, yeah. Yeah, so now it just looks like we have a few cases there. And that one base computer doesn't look so out of place. Okay. So now, what we're going to do with this area is we're actually going to build our power needs. So right now, we've got this one solar generator on top of our micro habitat. We've got the battery and the what's this biofuel reactor. Right, so this is meant to give us power during the day and at night. So we're using less power than we have available, which is good. So we are filling up our power storage. Basically, where you want to get to is that you have solar power. I mean, at the sort of intermediary stage, you want to have enough solar power coming in so that you're only using about half of what you're generating or less, so that during nighttime you have batteries that have been storing that other half, and your whole base can run off of the power in the batteries, and then the next day you'll be able to fill them up again before night. That's why there's two sort of things that you have to look at that are important. And the first one, it's not just the power that you are consuming and creating, but then also how much time until your batteries are full. So what did we see? It was here. So charge rate is 28, and it's going to be charged in 3 minutes. So now at night, this is obviously being charged from the biofuel reactor, but during the day, you can then look at your solar panel, and it'll tell you how many hours of daytime are remaining. So you want to make sure that the total time to charge your battery from your solar panels is less than the amount of daylight hours remaining, so that you have full batteries when the night starts. And usually that just means you need a lot of batteries and a lot of solar panels, and they can just litter the side of your base. They can be all over the place and eventually look a little bit unsightly. It's nice to have a few out because they look like cool little radar dishes, but for the amount of them you need, I usually like to find some place to hide them. And that's going to be what we build right here, because something that you might not know is that solar panels don't actually need to have access to sunlight to work in No Man's Sky. It's one of the little bit more unrealistic parts, but it's true. So we're going to go to structures and small and get the cuboid room here. I'm actually going to change that color to one of the dark grays. And we've left 3 spaces here and 3 up. So it is a 3x3 structure. It's a little hard to get in here. I could have done this before putting these 2 end pieces on. It made it a little bit easier, but this works. And that makes it look even more stable. I could put something underneath, but I'm not going to bother because it does look like it's being held up by the supports. So, and now just like with this bendable tube over here, or corridor, I'm going to go to large, straight, and put that right there. And then I think what I'm going to do is curve tube like that. And then where is corridor? then I'm going to use my terrain manipulator and go to flatten, and I think that's about right there. I'm trying to find where that tube will end, but flatten that, and then just move forward. Just kind of clear out this area a bit. Perfect. And I can still add in a ramp to make it look even more accessible. And then in this corner, we'll just again, oops, just throw a couple of boxes. Here, I can use this big one now. Alright, so now I can enter. It's got a nice little view there. And this room is also not powered. So now you will remember that when we set up the power over here, we had to add all those wires, right? So we have the blue wires, or the glowing wires, that run from the solar panel to the battery, from the biofuel reactor to the battery, and then from the battery to our structure through that like power node there. And to power stuff, you always have to have it connected. But for these small rooms, you can actually build stuff inside of the rooms. For the big guys too, here, maybe I'll show you on this big one first. When you put stuff down, it kind of snaps into place like other elements that you put in. Not the furniture, but the decorations, but like other pieces of tech or the specialist desks or terminals. But if we go to power here and I go to battery, you can see it's giving me, or this is biofuel reactor, but it's giving me these spots to actually snap them on. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 8 slots here for biofuel reactors or batteries or whatever else you need. But our small cuboid rooms allow for 4 per cube. So there's going to be a much larger amount here. And the thing that's nice about putting power on these sort of like this grid light system is that you then don't need wires. So here, I'm just going to make a single cube's worth of solar panels. Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4. And because it's now daytime, they open up. And you can see they're already immediately powering our structure. Everything is now blue. There's no more red, except for over here, because this guy hasn't been connected. So let's connect them up first. Even though it's connected through this landing pad, it's not connected physically to the structure. So if I can grab, where are we going to do this? So it can't just be to the building, it has to be to the actual power. So in that case, I think what we'll do is we'll first make batteries. So I got 4 solar panels, and I'm going to make 4 batteries over here. We'll come back and do the math after. Not my favorite part. And then we can actually grab a wire. That guy. And could just zip it over like that. This wire will be visible until we use that device that makes it invisible, so let's see if we can find a way to make it not look terrible. I think that might be alright. Yeah, looks like it's just an actual cable attached, and now you can see this guy's powered as well. All blue rings, no more red. Climb the ladder. Now there's a storm incoming, so first I'm just going to bring our ship over. And that's another thing to know. Your ships will always land in this orientation, looking to the left, based on where the little terminal is. It's getting cold, so I am going to seek shelter in our little room here so I can do a little bit more work. Alright, so solar panels. Daylight remaining is 12 minutes. I'm using 70 over, and I have 200 available for power. And these batteries will be charged in 20 minutes, so it's going to take more time to charge them than there's daylight left, so I need to make more solar panels. So I'm just going to keep adding 2. See, that's already now down to 11. I think that's per, yeah, that's total. So daylight is close, so maybe I'll just make another 2 more. Seven minutes until charged. 10 minutes of daylight remaining. Perfect. So now we will have fully charged batteries. But this also constantly needs to change, right? As you add more stuff to your base, it's going to require more power. But right now we're at 70 out of 400. So we have a lot of power that we can still use. Of course, now it's only attached to this guy right here. It's not actually using a lot of power. It's just that it's got the doors, 2 doors. The hollow door just went through, and actually 3 doors. This one, and then the one on the end of the power room. But once we start adding things in here that actually take up power, that number is going to change, so we need to always be aware of it. So while we're in here, I'm going to add a couple of windows, I think. Large. I used to use these glass ones. Oh. They work fairly well. I find they don't work as well in the square rooms because the corners aren't rounded as well. But I also really like these sort of utilitarian windows. So for now, I'm going to use them just in the corner segments. So not across from the door, and not directly left or right of the door like these guys here. Because I can still put terminals, or do terminals go in the corners? I forget. I haven't put terminals in these rooms for a long time. So let's go down. Oh. Tech specialist. terminals. They are in the corners. All right. Well, we do need a construction terminal. It's like our first terminal. So maybe this will be our construction room. Put that right there. We'll make this more of a waiting room. Maybe what I'll do is a window on each side, and then over here we'll make more of a bay window. That looks out over our base. Oh, back on the ladder. See, this is another reason I don't really like those ladders. Alright. Now as we start to decorate the interior, so this is kind of like our waiting room. Sometimes I like to make a security room right off of the landing pad, so it's kind of like customs at an airport. But we're making a pretty small base here, so I think the way that I'm going to do it is to make this kind of like the waiting room. This is where people wait for their shuttles to arrive. So we need some nice round benches. Where are the round ones? Or L-shaped benches. I'm actually going to start using some of the different materials here. So I'm going to use wood, and then this sort of yellow and white. I think that's more like a tan color, but it does really well for wood. I'm not sure if this layout's going to work. It's getting very close to that ladder. Yeah. So I'm just trying out a few things here. What about that? No. Maybe I'll just go with some straight benches. Get them as far back as I can. And maybe this one has like a hollow table in front of it. And then what I'm going to do is put something in the middle. See if I can use decoration, adornments. Can't resize that one or that one. So always use our trusty barrel here and just decrease the size. Rotate it a bit. And then maybe put Back over to tech, specialist, farming, some nice plants. Oh. Oh, not centered at all. See, it looked like it was going to be in the center, and then it totally wasn't. And now it's not centered there. I'm not going to do that now. That can sometimes take a really long time to get right. Maybe I'll just... Come on. Not even close. Alright. But I think that even that barrel alone does a good job of filling in that space a little bit. And now we're going to start using scale again. So I'm going to use another piece that I like. Back over to decoration and interior. This octa cabinet. Or, even better, the lab light. Just make sure we're getting it right in the middle. It's a little bit harder to do because it rotates a lot and it's pretty big. Go with black and then scale it up. So it reaches that first light ring. And just rotate until I think we are centered. Again, this might be a little bit difficult. Because it's not just rotating myself, but the object. Come on. I'm doing slight adjustments. And that's then right over, oh, almost right over the hole for the ladder. So what I do? I didn't have it large enough. Okay. This is a bit of a snooze fest. I know. Lining things up for interior decoration. So I'm just trying to actually find how it lines up on the sides there. I can kind of see those circular arms. Ugh, close. All right. Is that close enough though? Looks good when we come in. And it looks all right as I walk around. It's not as big as I wanted it to be, so maybe let's try it one more time. Go super big. Yeah, like that. Oh. And it's not centered at all. Oh boy. Oops. Alright, so I'm now floating. That's not what I wanted. Will that help you line it up? Not really, I can't see anything. Like that. Ugh. It's really hard to gauge. Rawr, super large. Oh, so close, but I think that's the best I'm going to be able to get it. But now we can't get into the ladder. Alright, well I think I'm just going to do one last attachment here, regardless of whether it's good or not. But that adds a little bit of interest. Still reach the ladder. And then we just start building out the interiors. So we're getting close to the end of the stream, but I will do some more interior work before we finish off. But this is essentially what I wanted to show you in how to create a landing pad that looks a little bit more supported and realistic in No Man's Sky. So now that our ship's on there, get back to the other view. Oh, that didn't work. There we go. So you can see it just looks like there's a bit of a structure underneath it. It looks a little bit more supported and realistic rather than just having a floating landing pad. And if I go at it from other sides, get a little wet here. It just looks like a built-up structure. We didn't have to put a room in the middle. Could have done just with the support pieces. But it gave us a perfect place to put a little bit of a power plant and have that tucked away so we don't need a lot of wires around. And then we also talked about this support piece, and it was the first piece we put down so that everything else kind of gets built around it. Oh, hey, buddy. All right. Let's take one more look in here. I mean, I could also build out terminals in here and stuff, but I'm probably just going to leave this as my power room. So right now my solar panels are not generating any power. It's going to take about 5 minutes until those batteries are drained. Oh, 8 minutes until daytime. So what happened? Oh, you know what happened? 6 minutes. Maybe this is per battery. Never quite figured that out. What? How did that time change? Alright, so what we might need to do is add... It's not going to help out right now. We will have a power failure. If we add another couple of batteries... You know what? I'm just going to fill up these two sides. Why do those ones not want to be the other way around? That's funny. Alright, well. Now, could I put down some biofuel reactors? Probably could. But I feel like we may not need to. Now, because we're doing this in a small structure, we can also do stuff like if that doesn't look that great to you, you can put up walls and completely wall those off. They still work. I mean, that would make this a pretty weird room. Also use these doors. Obviously you wouldn't be able to get too far in here, but do something like that. And then maybe build like a terminal back here. We could have made that our construction terminal. I'll just leave those for now. Not sure if I really need them. So some of our batteries are depleted because we just built them and they're not gaining any power. Minute and a half until it's being drained. 4 minutes until daylight. So we could do something with some biofuel generators. And maybe we should do that. Maybe what I'll do is have a small selection of biofuel reactors back here, just so that we can power up some stuff without the use of sunlight. Oh. Well, get it there. Well, these are like emergency generators because we haven't wired it up so that they turn off or don't supply power. When there's daylight. And they do need to be constantly refueled. So we have our power room. There we can see into our observation deck. More blizzards. This place. Maybe I'll put more of those windows down here. Yeah, maybe just like that. And then it's all about decoration. And again, using scale. I could think you can make a lot of these rooms look really interesting just by picking the right stuff and scale. So I'm going to go back to our concrete material and white with orange as our base color. So I'm going to try to make the little self-service kitchen. Sure that this is lined up well with the wall. It's pretty good. And then we start to use some other pieces and change the scale to get them to fit. So for instance, now I want to put that there, but because this is the rounded room, it looks a little bit odd at the top. I can't seem to change the color of that end cap. You can see where that black sort of meets the ceiling. It just sort of has a weird shift to it. I can use this piece. And we kind of did this in our microhabitat. Whoops. She made this like a cabinet. Too low. I knew it. But it's kept... Oh no, it hasn't kept my size shift. So I'm going to put it right down on the counter to make it, to gauge the size. And I'm just going to move it up. That's better. Really increase the size. And then instead of adding some details, I like putting in these little robot arms and just sizing them down. Oh. And ladder. And then we'll go for another couple of those barrels as jars. Always good to do. And it doesn't really seem out of place if we have a lot of these around, because you would have a lot of jars or containers. The best idea to make it seem real is to just put them in different configurations, so, and different numbers. So we used 2 close together last time. I'm going to put 2 a little bit further apart. And is this the resizable one? Yeah, and then use this as some kind of container to make it feel a little bit more cluttered. That, yeah, looks good. Where are my monitors? Beep boop. Beep boop, beep boop. There we go. So I'm going to try to shrink this one down. I'm going to see if I can actually hang it. No, yeah, that's going to work. Okay, I'm just going to make sure it's straight. A little bit more difficult to do here. And down the ladder again. That's going to keep happening. But there you can see there's some visual clutter. There's some bigger and smaller pieces. It's already starting to look like some kind of sort of kitchenette. And to make this space over here look a little bit less awkward, I'm just going to put another one of those containers, and actually as a barrel, just a little bit smaller. I haven't done anything over here yet, but that works well. For a little waiting area with a kitchenette. And down here we'll have to make some kind of construction sort of HQ for our building operation. And then we have our power supply. And right now our boxes are on their own power grid, separate, but once we start building out our base and have some more structures, we can probably connect that in when there's something in between that allows us a structure to connect to. But I think that is going to be it for today's stream. I hope you guys enjoyed building out some foundational structures for our No Man's Sky base here. And I will be back next Sunday morning, and we'll do some more building, and we'll see how things go then. That's it for the stream. Thanks for joining, and I hope to see you all soon. Take care.